Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cone back here again today with another video. So something happened yesterday on Thunder Twitter that really shook it to its core. A recently verified Thunder reporter, Rylan Stiles, I'm going to drop his Twitter in the description below. Great reporter, go check him out if you follow the Thunder at all. Great follow. But he dropped a mysterious GIF that he has dropped in the past that has kind of indicated big Thunder news, and he's a guy that kind of knew about the Kemba Walker trade before it even happened. So he is someone that has some kind of source within the Thunder organization, and when people saw that, people started freaking out, trying to click on to anything, and then there were a couple tweets from different people who said they wouldn't be surprised if the Thunder ended up trading up in this year's draft. So people really started to take that as the Thunder are trading up, they're getting Cade Cunningham, whatever. And Thunder Twitter for about 30 minutes to an hour was in an absolute frenzy. It kind of calmed down, and we're still not exactly sure what the news is that Rylan Stiles had. I'm going to keep an eye on it, and if it's big news, I'll probably make a video about it as a big Thunder fan, of course. But for right now, I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about what I think is going to happen in the draft in terms of a trade up. Do I think the Thunder are going to trade up? Should they trade up? Are we trying to trade up? And ultimately, what am I willing to give up in a trade up package? When you look at trade ups, you have to consider two sides of the equation. A lot of people just think if Sam Presti threw like a few assets at some GM, they're going to be like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll trade it down with you. That's not necessarily the case. Sam Presti could throw all the assets in the world at a GM and they could still say no if they don't want to trade down. And this is a really stacked draft class. So I think it's going to be kind of hard to get some of these GMs, especially when all the teams in that top 4, top 5 could really use some of these prospects, are probably pretty happy with where they're at. At least they're happy that they're not where the Thunder are. The Thunder, of course, did not want their draft pick to end up at number 6, hoping for potentially 2 top 5 picks even. We got the second worst scenario. The only way it could have been worse is if we got the 7th overall pick, but ultimately, the 6th pick isn't a bad place to be. Scotty Barnes or Jonathan Kuminga are both great players, but I personally think that Sam Presti is trying his best to trade up. We have seen reports. There was a report recently that said that there were a couple teams that were trying to gauge what it would take to get the number 1 overall pick from Detroit, and the Thunder were listed in that report. And from that, and alongside some other things, I'm 100% sure that Sam Presti is trying to trade up. And if another GM is willing to trade down, the Thunder, in my mind, will be trading up in this year's draft. That is the question, though. Is a GM willing to move down? So let's take a look at the teams in the top 5, all above the Thunder, and see if they would be willing to trade down. Starting with the Pistons, Cade Cunningham is a stud. Detroit doesn't have a lot of they don't have a franchise guy right now. Some of these teams, they have guys that they can kind of look at, but ultimately right now in Detroit, they need a star, they need a face, they need something to kind of revitalize and reinvigorate the franchise, and number 1 overall pick, Cade Cunningham, is going to be the guy to do that. I would be stunned if they traded the pick. I don't think they should trade the pick, and I don't think they want to trade the pick. There have been some reports about them maybe looking at Jalen Green. There have been some reports saying that they would be happy with taking him over Cade Cunningham. I don't buy that. I think Cade is the bona fide number 1 for a reason. Jalen Green is a great player, and we'll talk about him a little bit more in a second when I talk about the Rockets, but Cade's the guy. And in Detroit, right now, at this point in their rebuild, you need to take the best player available. Maybe Jalen Green fits better long-term next to Killian Hayes, but I think Cade and Killian can be a great backcourt together, and I think you have to take Cade. So I don't think they're going to trade the pick. I don't think they should trade the pick. So I think right now, in my opinion, they're locked at number 1. Number 2 overall pick, the Houston Rockets. I mentioned Jalen Green a second ago, and it looks like that's the guy they're kind of leaning towards taking. It's between him and Evan Mobley. And I personally, if I'm the Rockets, I'm taking Evan Mobley just because I think Evan Mobley is a superstar in the making. I think he's going to be like an Anthony Davis type player in his career. That's how good I think Evan Mobley is. And I almost feel like he has like a better floor than Jalen Green potentially. Jalen Green is an electric scorer, and I really think Jalen Green's going to be phenomenal in the league as well. But if I'm the Rockets, I'm taking Evan Mobley. Looks like they're leaning Jalen Green. Still a solid pick, but the fact that they're kind of like here and there on one makes me think maybe they'd be willing to trade back with a team that really wanted an Evan Mobley. If they're looking to draft Jalen Green, they wouldn't mind going back to like maybe the 3 spot if perhaps the Cavs are really looking to take Evan Mobley and, just don't want to risk it. But ultimately, I think the Rockets are locked at 2. I think they like the ability to have those 2 options. They could decide on draft night if they really wanted to who they want to take, and I think they're probably going to like that flexibility. In addition, I think they really just like both of those players and don't want to risk one being gone, and at the last second they're like, damn, I kind of would have liked to take that guy. So I think the Rockets, especially at this point in the rebuild where it's just starting, are going to stay at number 2 to pick the best player available. So I don't think they're trading down. The first real team I could see trading down are the Cavaliers. The reason I could see them trading down is because, assuming the Rockets take like a Jalen Green, Evan Mobley is going to be the guy that they would probably have to take as best player available. And they have Jared Allen right now. I don't think Jared Allen is as good as Evan Mobley is going to end up being, but you could even run Evan Mobley at the 4 and do like a 4-5 combo between the two of them. And a core of those two guys alongside Sexton, Garland, and an Isaac Okoro is already a great start to your rebuild. So I could see them holding on and sticking with Evan Mobley, but maybe there's a scenario where they're like, I don't want to play Mobley at the 4. I think he's more of a 5, and we kind of like Jared Allen. So we'd be willing to trade down and maybe get a different guy to maybe say they want like a Scotty Barnes instead of a Evan Mobley because they think he fits a little bit better. I don't think Barnes is going to be as good as Mobley is going to be, but just hypothetical situations. I could see maybe the Cavs being the first team out of those top 3 to be willing to trade down. But at the same time, I don't know if I see it happening just because the Cavs are also still in pretty early stages of their rebuild, so I think they still have to go best player available, and I think at that point it would be Evan Mobley, and I think that's a guy that's way too hard to pass up on. So while I don't think the Cavs are willing to really trade down, I think out of those top 3 teams, they're the most likely. Then we have at the 4 spot the Raptors, and I think they would probably be willing to trade down a couple spots with the Thunder, but the problem is I think that if they were going to trade down, they'd probably want, of course they'd want future capital, but maybe a player that could help them win now, and our best win now player on the Thunder is Kemba Walker, and outside of SGA, and he's not going anywhere. So Kemba Walker, and he doesn't fit that Raptors team at all, unless they're going to let Kyle Lowry walk, and even then, I don't know how they make salaries work, so I really don't know if I see how it would work between the Thunder and Raptors. Maybe they're willing to commit more to a rebuild, and they just want more draft capital. Maybe the Thunder give up like 16, 18, and 6, as well as like a future pick to move up a couple of spots. I could see it. I'm not really sure how much Sam Presti's going to want to move up just a couple spots, though, because I think he really does like a Scotty Barnes, who would probably be there at 6, or maybe a Kuminga. So I don't know if I see that really. And then finally, the Magic at 5. I don't really see why they would trade down unless the Thunder are going to really want whoever's left at 5 out of like those top 5-6 guys, and the Magic are kind of hinting at maybe wanting to take them. The Thunder throw them an extra first round pick just to move up another spot. Who knows? So those are the top 5 teams ahead of the Thunder, and if you notice, I'm not very confident that many teams are going to want to trade down. If a trade up happens for the Thunder, I think it's with either the Cavs or it's with the Raptors, and I don't know if they'd be willing to. I don't know what the trade package could potentially look like. So we'll have to see on the Thunder side of things, but I think they're going to try and trade up. It's just a matter of if those guys are going to try and trade down. In terms of a package for trading up, I'd be willing to give up the 16th and 18th overall pick, as well as some of those future picks. We have like 30 draft picks. We don't need all of those. And if there's a guy Sam Presti really believes in this draft, I'm willing to give up multiple of those to make that happen if we have to. I'm cool with that. Maybe the guy that he really believes in falls to 6, like a Scotty Barnes, a Kuminga, maybe even a Jalen Suggs. Maybe that happens. Maybe we get lucky and the guy we wanted, not necessarily all along because we want Cade Cunningham, but maybe the guy that at this point we want just happens to fall to us and we get lucky, don't have to give up any of that capital, and we just kind of, we're good. But ultimately, I think he's going to look to trade up. In a trade-up package, I'm not giving up Shea. Not at all. There's no chance I'm giving up Shea. It's just not happening. In terms of a trade package, I also don't really want to give up Dort or Poku. Those are really the 3 guys I don't want to see go. Poku just because I believe in his potential, as well as Dort, and for the fact that I think Dort fits really well in this team, and he has one of the best contracts in the league right now. Outside a guy like a Luka, who's on like his rookie contract still and is already like a superstar caliber guy. For guys that have not signed like rookie contracts, Lou Dort is making like $1.5 million over the next couple seasons to be an all defensive caliber guy who continues to skyrocket in terms of his abilities every single season. He just played his first year and he was a borderline all defensive guy guy and way upped his offensive production. So I don't want to move on from him, Poku, or Shea. Anyone else I would say is probably on the table. I would hate to see most of these guys go because I love the guys on this roster. But ultimately, if Sam Presti's got a vision, as long as it's not involving one of those three guys, I trust it. So those are my thoughts on the trade up. Let me know if you think the Thunder are going to trade up. If I had to make a call right now, I kind of have a gut feeling it's a yes. I just feel like something crazy is going to happen with Sam Presti, and he's resilient enough to get it done. I'm just praying it's not one where we give up a ton for it, but once again, got to trust in Presti. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. Let me know what you think about a trade up situation, who you think we could trade up with, and what you would be willing to offer. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys later. Real One Save Back.